Obey Jesus, saving Bitcoin. Jeremy Hain. Alright. So, in Matthew 7, verse 1, do not judge others, and you will not be judged. So that's where I'm at on homosexuality. However, I go to Chat GPT, and I say, does Jesus state homosexuality is against God? Now, I have now read all of the Gospels, and I'm midway through Revelation. And this is, and I agree with what Chat GPT says in part. The question of whether Jesus explicitly stated that homosexuality is against God is a subject of significant theological debate. In the canon Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Jesus does not explicitly mention homosexuality. I can confirm that's true. Not once does he say homosexuality is anything. He does talk about the dangers of lust, and he does talk about sexual immorality, I think 1 or 2 times. But he don't break it down. That's why I did a whole video on sexual immorality. Instead, his teaching focused more broadly on love, compassion, and ethical behavior. For sure. So then Chat GPT gives a few examples. There are many, many examples of Jesus talking about mercy and love and compassion and being a hypocrite and the dangers of lust and sexual immorality. But here it breaks down Pauline epistles. Some of the strongest statements about same-sex relations in the New Testament come from the Apostle Paul, who basically writes like half the New Testament, and the other half is like the apostles. Except Mark and Luke, they weren't apostles, but they were like historians. But John and Matthew, they were apostles. They were two of the 12. And then John wrote 1 John, 2 John, and Revelation. And Peter, the Rock, the first pope, who built the church, wrote 1 Peter, 2 Peter. So the New Testament was written half by Paul, who was very opposed to gay sex, apparently. I haven't read those Paul ones yet, because I want to focus on the Gospels. I did those. And then I found out that 2 of the apostles wrote other books. So now I went right to Revelation, because that seemed the one that was most dramatic. Let's talk about the end. So anyway, Jesus does not condemn specifically homosexuality, but he does warn about lust. Gouge out your eye if it causes you to lust. You could lust for a dude, and obviously most commonly you'd lust for a woman. Or a woman, lust for a man. Very infrequently they're lusting for women. Most of that time it's just, showtime at the Apollo. They're just at the club and they want to fucking put on a show or whatever. Most chicks are not into chicks. But here's the question that got me thinking about this. Is not the presence of STDs in society evidence that God don't like promiscuity? God does not like promiscuity. And Jesus reiterates the lust and sexual immorality. And obviously Sodom and Gomorrah. There are many, many warnings throughout the many, many books in different religions about promiscuity. So check this question out. How do the rates of STDs infecting homosexuals compare with rates of STDs infecting heterosexuals? The rates of sexually transmitted diseases, infections, STIs, can vary significantly between homosexual and heterosexual populations due to differences in sexual behavior, access to healthcare, and social factors. Here's a comparative overview based on current research. Rates of STIs in the homosexual versus heterosexual population. HIV/AIDS. Men who have sex with men, MSM, HIV rates are significantly higher among men who have sex with men compared to heterosexual men and women. I'm not going to read all the reasons. I think we all understand. Women are the control mechanism. Saying no, right? Because I know that I never say no. And my woman is the one that does. And I can just imagine if there's two dudes that are into each other, there's never a no, right? And then I guess multiple partners is a big part of their society, culture, whatever. Alright, so HIV/AIDS way higher, significantly higher among men who have sex with men. Syphilis. Higher rates of syphilis have been observed among men who have sex with men compared to heterosexual men and women. Gonorrhea and chlamydia. These infections are more prevalent among men who have sex with men compared to heterosexuals. Human papillomavirus, HPV. Higher prevalence of HPV, particularly in the anal region, it's disgusting, has been noted among MSM. HPV is widespread among heterosexuals as well, affecting both men and women. Vaccination has been a key preventive measure. Factors including differences. Sexual networks. Men having sex with men often have more interconnected sexual networks, which can facilitate the rapid spread of STIs. Heterosexual networks tend to be less interconnected. Yeah, because there's women who say no. Sexual practice. Certain sexual practices, anal intercourse, have higher transmission rates. God don't want you putting your dick in an asshole. Certain sexual practices, for example, anal intercourse, have higher transmission risks for STIs. God don't want you putting your dick in an asshole. He made specifically the vagina for your penis. It works perfect. It's great. Why do dudes like blowjobs? Because it's similar to a vagina, but there's a tongue somewhere in there. Right? But the whole thing about the mouth is it's similar to a vagina. Would you rather have sex with a woman's pretty pink vagina or a fucking dude's asshole? I mean, it's, come on, man. Come on. Obviously, God does not like promiscuity, alright? And if gay men are a tiny percentage of the population, and they're having way more STIs compared to heteros that make up 99% of the population. I mean, let's do those numbers. Hold on. Alright, so there's self-identification, and understand this now. The fucking media has been pushing gay is amazing for fucking, I don't know, when did fucking Will and Grace start? But here's the conclusion. While estimates can vary, research generally suggests that around 3 to 7% of the global population identifies as homosexual. I mean, come on. Unless you're in big cities or you're around, dopey liberals, ain't many gay people. There's just not. So they're a tiny percentage of the population, and they make up way more STIs. What's that tell you? God does not like homosexual activity. God punishes promiscuity with all of us, but look at the rates for homosexuals. So, again, do not judge others and you will not be judged. This is where I go back to Jesus. From a scientific, Chat GPT, that's the nerdy science shit. High risk to be homosexual. So now I gotta roll back to Jesus. Do not judge others, and you will not be judged. I'm not judging homosexuals. That's God's domain. But a woman's vagina or a disgusting dude's asshole. I don't understand. I don't understand how you make the asshole choice. I don't understand it. But, in America, you got a 9th Amendment right to do what you want, and you got a First Amendment right to freedom of assembly. So assemble in whatever, manner you deem fit, as long as it's consenting adults. But the Christian answer, Jesus' own words, do not judge others and you will not be judged. So I cannot be telling you what to do. What God says when you die, that's another matter. So, be careful out there. Thanks for watching. Obey Jesus, saving Bitcoin. Jeremy Hain.